I'm calling it now. The Auburn Tigers are going to benefit from the SEC's laziness, and we all should be here for it.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as we dap it up on this Friday's Montgomery radio legend, the Darrell Dapprich. Darrell, we now know every team that Auburn will play in 2025, and yes, we got to go through the 2024 season first to get there, but the 2025 season became important as soon as Hugh Freeze was hired, because I think the most the average fan will say, hey, you get a few years, you get a few recruiting classes with the portal and all that. That third season's going to be crucial. It's going to be crucial. The SEC was so lazy, and I think they deserve to be called out for how they handled the scheduling. It's like, okay, well, if you go to a place in 2024, they come to you in 2025 and vice versa. So Auburn's playing the same teams with the exception of, some non-conference opponents. They're just flipping locations. And Darrell, while that's lazy, while the SEC took the easy way out here, I think Auburn benefited from it.
Well, I don't know why anyone's surprised. That's what they've done for years. Auburn had, let's say, Kentucky on their schedule as a team from the East when Auburn was in the West. Well, they played Kentucky at home and then Kentucky on the road. They were doing that for a while, and then it started getting unbalanced and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, but I think the reason why it makes sense to do it this way, Zach, is because I think you're going to see the SEC go to a 9-game schedule in 2026. So this is the best way to do that, is just flip it and make it easy and say, okay, you'll now play at home who you played on the road, or vice versa.
Yeah,
that is a big benefit, because although I think Auburn's schedule in 2024, when it was released, its conference schedule was conducive to Auburn making a nice run, but there was that Georgia and Alabama, thing looming where you had to go to.
Yeah. Well,
you keep the same teams in 2025, but now you get to play. And remember, in Hugh Freeze's first year, last year, they had both Georgia and Alabama on the ropes. Alabama more so than Georgia, because you make one play and you win. That's in year one. What a difference in year three, like you said, with 3 full recruiting classes under his belt. SEC did Auburn a huge favor here. The non-conference, and we'll talk about that, though, is a little bit saltier than it was, I think, this year. A couple of the games, and we'll break that down. Well, I think it's a little bit more difficult non-conference schedule.
Yeah, and the final game that was added was Mercer. That was kind of the 12th game on the schedule that we were wondering, okay, who's Auburn going to play for that last non-conference opponent? So they know the non-conference schedule, and then they know the SEC opponents. So they'll open it up against Baylor on August 30th of 25. They will then host Ball State. Ball is not a state. Ball is life, but Ball is not a state. I want to make that very clear. They'll host South Alabama. And then in November, I guess that'll be before the Iron Bowl. They'll
November 22nd. Yeah, they got Mercer.
Yeah. And then they'll host Alabama after that.
And remember, that Baylor game is in Waco. So that's why I'm saying, going to Cal, and as opposed to going to Waco, I think going to Waco
and it's the opener.
Harder. And it's the
opener too. It's not like you get a cupcake and then you go like with what we saw with Cal last year. So that
Auburn Athletics hadn't fared too well with playing Baylor in their opener of the athletic season, right? Happened in basketball.
Yeah, that's true.
But here's the thing that also, that South Alabama game, although Auburn should win that game. I'm not saying but that's a tougher than normal non-conference opponent. I'm just telling you. South Alabama in the Sun Belt is tougher than some of the non-conference opponents that Auburn has played, except I thought that about New Mexico State turned out to be better. But South Alabama, Auburn's better. Auburn should beat them, but it's not a typical.
That could be a 9-win team at the end of the year.
Yeah, and they play in that conference that, it's traditionally pretty good in the Sun Belt. So that's a little bit tougher non-conference money game that you normally have. But then Ball State and Mercer should be blowout city. I like the schedule. I mean, I love the way it sets up. And again, we're going to know a lot about this team right out of the gate at Baylor. It can kind of set the tone, I think, for the season. And I think the national media will get on board. If Auburn goes out to Baylor and beats Baylor, they'll kind of
maybe
take a look a little bit, kind of say, looky here.
Maybe. I hope Jarrett Stidham's at that game. I think that'd be important.
Yeah.
I think that'd be important, the Jarrett Stidham Bowl. But yeah, obviously, I think the non-conference is tougher next year than it is this upcoming season. But as far as where you go and who comes to you, I love it. So your home games now in 2025 are the road games from this upcoming season. So you'll host Alabama and Georgia, as you mentioned, and you'll host Kentucky, Missouri, and that's it. That's it. And then you go on the road to Arkansas, to Oklahoma, to A&M, and to Vandy, which is Auburn North at this point.
Yeah, only
I
A&M.
just think that's easier. I just think that's easier, Darrell.
We don't know where Mike Elko will have the A&M program at that point. I would imagine it's probably going to be tough to go to Norman and play that game.
Yeah,
depending on what Riley does.
Toughest road game of the season.
Yeah, so that'll be different. I just think that it sets up. I mean, again, at some point, Auburn will get the Georgia-Alabama monkey off their back. They have to. And I've said all along that I will feel like Auburn football is truly where it needs to be and will be back when they don't have to rely on beating them at Jordan-Hare, because that has happened a little bit, not so much with Georgia, but with Alabama. So when Auburn goes to Athens and beats Georgia, and when Auburn goes to Tuscaloosa and beats Alabama, then I'll feel like they're where they need to be from a playoff contender standpoint and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think that's going to happen this year. So it's like, is that an option in 2026? Like, could that actually happen? I don't know. But can't happen in 2025 because they don't play there. So we'll see. All right, expectations and why I think it's so important, Darrell. All that's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Darrell, you love Manscaped. I think it's very important that we all love Manscaped. And look, I can finally say that I've caught the spring fever. They even send you a newspaper when you order it.
Wow.
The headline is Shave Yourself.
Interesting.
Arrival prompts. Say that last word for me, Darrell.
Is that pubedemonium?
Yes.
That is a very tough word to say for two reasons.
But it's intimidating. Yeah, it's intimidating for sure. But look, it doesn't have to be intimidating. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers and embrace the season. And join the 10 million men. 10 million people are using Manscaped to feel their confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Look, their 5th generation trimmer, it features 2 interchangeable next-gen skill-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top. You want to leave a little behind, Darrell? You know what I'm saying. And a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Which of those 2 do you prefer, Darrell?
I don't know if I could go smooth. I think that you got to leave a little behind,
That's what I was assuming.
I'm old school.
I just wanted
just kind of like on the top of my head, you just leave a little bit behind, right?
I love it. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Better Together. You got to keep it together, Darrell. You've got to keep it together. We love our friends at Better Together. You can download from either app store, and they're going to be running demo contests throughout the week of each week of the March Madness tournament, and it's fun. Look, we've all played or at least considered playing daily fantasy sports, and it's like, man, I want to play with my friends. I want to team up with my friends. And so Better Together kind of launches the idea of a daily fantasy sports from a cooperative standpoint. So the way it works is you sign up, you go in their app, you use promo code LOCKEDON, you get extra money and extra points to play with. And then you add a friend. We all have friends. If you don't have any friends, add me. My name in Better Together is Zach Blackerby, all one word, ZACBLACKERBY. Add me, add your friend, and you make your picks and you collaborate with their chat function in the app. So download Better Together now from the App Store. Sign up using code LOCKEDON for a free $5 entry into any NCAA basketball contest. Play with me. I'll be there because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. All right, Darrell, as far as expectations for the 2025 season, we've all been told, and it's been reported elsewhere, that internally, 2025 is kind of the first season where it's like they've got a legitimate shot, a legitimate goal of making the expanded college football playoff. And I think that timeline makes sense, especially with the way that Freeze and his staff have chosen to rebuild the Auburn football program through recruiting, not just kind of, putting it together through the portal, through actual high school recruiting and development. And so just looking ahead now, like I do think Auburn will win more games in 2025 than they will in 2024. Can they get enough over the hump, though, in 2025? I'm not sure yet because there's still questions regarding specifically the quarterbacks.
I'm a firm believer that going through the portal and the portal route can make you competitive, but it can't make you a champion. I think to truly be a playoff contender and to win games, you have to build through recruiting classes. Now, can you find the right mixture to fill a spot here or there from the portal? Yes, but it needs to be a 70-30 ratio of recruited players that have been on campus for a while to portal guys than it rather being flipped where you see other teams' models. Again, the portal can make you competitive, but I just don't think it's a formula or a blueprint to win you championships. But you can use the portal here and there. So that being said, if Auburn has the kind of recruiting class, we already know what kind of class they had in 23, kind of class they had in 24, where they're starting to go in 2025 could be a top 6, top 7 class before it's all said and done.
Maybe.
I don't see any reason why. Again, it's all going to depend on, like you said, the quarterback position, who emerges. I don't think you're going to have, even if you get a 5-star quarterback like Juju that comes on campus, and if he commits, I don't think you're ever going to – I think it's tough to do that with a freshman. So it would have to be Hank Brown or Walker White leading the way in 2025, and if they are what they are called to be.
Yeah, I mean, most situations positionally, I'm okay with just projecting a year out. You already touched on the quarterback. It's like we expect Gurner to be gone, and then it's going to be a true battle between Hank Brown and Walker White unless something happens. The caveat to that is if Holden leaves after this spring and they go out and get a quarterback, what tier quarterback do they get? Do they get an upperclassman? Do they get a guy with 1 year left of eligibility? Do they get a guy with 2 years left of eligibility for this very situation? I don't know. That's going to be fascinating if that happens. Running back, you'll lose Jarquez Hunter and Brian Batty after the 2024 season, but you should still have Sean Jackson. You should still have Damari Austin. You should have Jeremiah Cobb. We'll see what happens with Alvin Henderson and his commitment, but I think they're okay. I feel fine about the running backs.
And the Rogers kid, the Anthony Rogers kid, who there's some scuttlebutt. He could be committing to Auburn as well, because I think they're going to – I agree with Brian. I think they're going to have to take 2. Yeah.
Yep. Brian Smith said that on our recruiting episode yesterday. Be sure to check that out if you missed it. Wide receiver, I don't think we need to make the argument here. It's going to be better. It's going to be better. Stacked. Yeah. Probably the strongest position group on the team going into the 2025 season. Tight end is interesting. I was originally concerned about this because you're going to lose Rivaldo Fairweather. Luke Deal will be done as well. Frazier will be gone, I believe. But I like what we've seen with Micah Riley. I like what we've seen with Rico Walker. He's really impressed me. And I kind of think that's their plan, is to elevate those two guys. And then Ryan G will also be a part of it too. And I wouldn't be shocked if they address that with a portal action as well. But tight end, I'm okay with. Offensive line's interesting, but you look at the guys that will come back, and it's like you'll still have Connor Lew at center, who will have another year left of eligibility, or I guess 2 years left of eligibility at that point. Seth Wilfred, which I think is the sole reason you brought him in, is to be the dude at either left or right tackle, the JUCO product. And we've heard decent things about him early on. And then they really like Tyler Johnson. I think they really like Dylan Cinda. And then you've got your true freshman right now, your DeAndre Carter and Favor Edwin. I think there's enough names there where somebody will step up. So I'm fine with offensive line. You interrupt me whenever you're ready to say something, because I'm just going to keep going until you interrupt me.
I had one question about the offensive line. Xavion Miller. How many is he done after this year?
I think he's a senior. I think he's
okay.
Done.
All right.
I think he's done. Unless he played in 2020, which he might have. He might have. I don't know. I
still like the Senda, Tyler Johnson, Connor Lew, DeAndre Carter. Yeah, I still think you're good.
Because I think he's a true senior. He's not a redshirt senior.
And this class has already got 3 offensive tackles in it. So they're building it back that way.
So I'm not positive on Miller, but I don't think he'll be here in 2025. Defensive line, I think it's a similar situation to the receivers. Like, you get all these guys that are a year older. You know, your Amaris Williams, your Malik Blockton, your TJ Lindsey. And then you'll also have Keldrick Falk still. So I think you feel okay about defensive line. And then I think the the Buck linebacker spot, that's probably a little concerning. Young, similar thing. Like, you feel good about Jamonte. Maybe Brenton Williams takes another step. Joe Phillips. So we'll see. Linebacker, we feel good about. Defensive back, they're all like freshmen and sophomores anyway. So from a roster standpoint, I don't think Auburn's in that bad of a spot. And you're going to lose some key dudes after the 2024 season. But we've already talked about the talent that Hugh Freeze and the staff have brought in from the high school level. It's like, if all of these guys continue to develop, the situation going into 2025, as we kind of prep and look at, who they're going to be playing in 2025, I think they're going to have a better roster.
Well, and you've just breaking down the roster just completely emphasizes the point we just made about portal gets you competitive. It doesn't when you mention, okay, well, this guy might leave, or I'm a little concerned about that. That's where you plug in a portal guy, the tight end position. Perfect example. Sure. You got 3 dudes in the room. Oh, do you want a 4th? Let me go get a portal guy. Oh, I need an extra offensive lineman. Let me get a portal guy. That's exactly how it all should play out, because now what you've just done is you've given the core of what Auburn's roster should be, key contributors in 2025. And even if a couple dudes leave, you're just replacing them for either depth or, okay, maybe get one guy that can start at an edge or something like that. You're not revamping your roster or basing it on that. So that's why I love the roster reconstruction. You combine that with the schedule, and the question mark will always come down to one position. Does Walker White or Hank Brown, and I only mention Walker White first because he was the more touted 4-star Under Armour game, look good. Yep. Does he play to his potential? And if he does, as that highly touted guy, you're fine. You're good. Mm-hmm. Now he's going to have to do it his first year. We don't think he's going to start this year. So he'll have no experience other than being on the roster and going through 2 springs. He won't, unless he gets in some games this year, to get some experience with leads or whatever. But other than that, whoever your quarterback is next year, unless you get a portal guy that can come in and start next year, that speaks to the tier of quarterback you're talking about getting if they get one in the spring portal. Do they get one that has experience that could play next year? I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Or do they get one at all? But if Holden enters the portal, just get ready. We're going to do like 10 shows on transfer quarterback stuff. It's going to be, that is the post-spring story is what do they do with Holden Gerner and how do they replace that spot? That is the question. That and defensive line to me are going to be the 2 things we talk about over and over and over again.
I think there is going to be, there's already some people that have gone on record that are really good college football analysts and experts that have said, fasten your seatbelts because this spring portal session is going to be unlike anything the transfer portal has seen. It's going to be crazy. And if that happens, it'll obviously trickle down to me and you like we did last year when Auburn gets a couple of guys that pretty excited about. I just hear it could be even bigger name, which blows me away. It's like, why do you stay if you're a big name when you could have jumped in the winter? I don't know, but get ready is all I'm being told.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with leverage because, okay, we're already through spring. Like, do you want me to stay? Well, I need more money. Or you have more time to kind of communicate through back channels and kind of get an idea of, okay, well, they're willing to pay me whatever. I think that's going to be part of it. And I know so many people are like squirming because they hate that that's part of what college football has become. But we're not trying to make you feel good. I think that's going to be why the spring portal is going to be super active.
You're a lot more desperate in the spring to keep players than you are in the winter because you don't have the ability to go out and find that replacement. Right, that quick. I mean, you can in the fall. I mean, you can after the fall season. You can say, okay, I can get someone here in the spring to replace this guy. If this guy stays with you through the spring, man, you're like I said, you make a great point.
You invested too much time.
Yeah,
100%.
Which means you'll invest more money. I mean, that's just the way it plays out. So they are using leverage. It's become nothing but leverage and negotiation tactics, and I don't know. It's here to stay, so you might as well just embrace it. But
yeah, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's happening, and we're going to talk about it. That's it. Okay. I asked for some bold predictions, some hot takes about Auburn's 2025 schedule. Let's go through some of those, and I want you to rate the hotness of them, if that's okay.
So we're doing a Manscaped ad and rating the hotness of these takes all in the same show.
That's right. All that's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. I'm just realizing all of these options play Thursday before we record, so I'm hoping they win. So let's go with the Iowa State Cyclones. They can only be described as a pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have really created themselves as one of the hottest teams in all of college basketball entering the tournament. And they played Illinois yesterday, so we'll see how that went. We'll see how that went. Let me have it in the comments if that's not if this aged poorly. But take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, yesterday on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I asked Auburn fans, give me your hottest takes about Auburn football's 2025 schedule. And I don't know if people misread it, misunderstood what a year was, if they thought this year was 2025 or what. I don't know. But a lot of people think Peyton Thorne's still going to be here. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just going to assume that they were mistaken. I don't know. Very odd. Jacob says 10 wins is achievable in 2025. How hot is that?
Hot. That's a good take. That's a hot take. Yes, 10 wins is achievable in 2025. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Ricky says Auburn-Baylor will be the wildest game of Auburn's 2025 season.
No. Love you, Ricky. I just think that a conference game is going to be wilder.
All right.
I'm thinking of that Norman. For some reason, that game in Norman jumps out to me in Oklahoma. Yeah,
I get it. Kyle says it's lame we play the same teams as 2024.
Oh, man, I don't have the problem with that. I mean, I don't know if that's
I think it's lame. I agree with Kyle.
I mean, it was predictable. And again, it's because they'll probably go to a 9-game schedule, conference schedule 2026. So it was the best way to do it.
Brett says he's scared of Mercer. Why Mercer again?
Scared of Mercer?
I don't know why anybody would
I remember
say that
yeah, well, Jared Stidham's first year, they were Auburn and Mercer. That game was close in the third quarter. I remember.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. I mean, it happens. Obviously, New Mexico State happened last year. Maybe we're not. I don't know.
But Mercer's not New Mexico State. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah. Katie Johnson's burner says, playoff or bust. We're a top 12 program. And with that schedule, there's no reason we shouldn't make the playoff. Let's go.
That's a hot take. Yeah.
It's hot. It's hot.
I think 10
Spicy.
wins gets you.
Like
10 win to combine with the other hot take. I think 10 wins gets you into the playoff.
Mm-hmm. Give me Auburn. Chad says, give me Auburn's schedule. Making the playoff should be expected next year. Expected. Big word.
I don't think expected. Word. I think realistic, but not expected. I think not impossible, not expected, because you're starting a new quarterback. However you want to, you're starting somebody new behind center. So that's always a question mark there.
Yeah. This guy says Durkin will leave after fielding a top 10 defense, and Baylor's head coach will be fired and take his place.
Dave Aranda will be Auburn's defensive coordinator when Auburn goes and plays Baylor, huh? Wow, that's interesting. I think Durkin's here for more than 1 year. Absolutely.
Well, this would be 2 years, though. This would be after the 2025 season.
Oh, he's saying after? No, this is Durkin's first year now, and we play Baylor to start 2025.
Oh, so you're thinking he's saying that we're gonna play Durkin in the I don't think that's what he's saying, but that'd be interesting too. Oh, okay. That'd be interesting too. Let's see if we can find a few more. Yeah, like this guy who runs Chris Stanfield's burner says Peyton Thorne will look significantly better with more talented receivers. Like he's not here in 25.
If he's doing that, he's going to be doing it on a USFL roster.
Yeah, that's right. Philip says 12-0 or bust.
No,
Jonathan
Phillip
says they will play for an SEC championship. I'm loving the positivity. I'm loving the hot takes. So, I just want to kind of throw those out there because I thought, and it's for a few reasons. One is I wanted to see, like, okay, I think Auburn fans do and should feel more confident about the 2025 schedule than the 2024 schedule. And it seems like based off of these that is true.
I do. The only thing that could damper my enthusiasm if it's Auburn had another 6-7 season. I got to see some progress in 2024 to boog about 2025. That's just how if Auburn can jump to 8 wins, win a bowl game, then I can see that upward trajectory. I'll feel, but if they stay flat and plateau and go 6-7 again and lose a bowl game, I'm not going to feel I'm not going to think that realistically.
What if they go 7-6 and win a bowl game? Is that a big enough difference to
no.
Okay.
I need to see at least a +2 improvement. And if I see 8 wins, if I see 8 wins, I'll say, okay, they just went +2. Because then look, what's the trend
7-5 with a bowl game win? You're okay? You're okay with that?
8-5
with a bowl win?
Because then what's the trend? +2, +2, +2 again in 2025 gets you to 10.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like
Got
Uno.
it.
Yeah.
I'm not far off of that. Yeah. And I'm not ready to quite to say that Auburn's going to win 8 games quite yet. I'm not quite there.
I'm predicting it. They will win 8 games next year.
8-4. Yeah. I need to see. They need to address the defensive line in the portal. It's huge. It's a huge factor. So, and it sounds like that's going to be a priority. So, Darrell, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, and you can catch me Wednesdays and Fridays with you here. And then we're also doing a special A-Day wrap-up kind of reaction show from the stadium.
That's right. That's right. I don't know if we're going to put that up Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning. We'll let you know closer to time. Everyone have a fantastic weekend.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Easter weekend. He is risen.
He is risen indeed.
Yes. And please click that like button. Please subscribe. And we will see you on Monday. This has been Locked On Auburn.